Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good the next day, or 2 days later. Welcome back to Passionate World Talk Radio Network, a wholly owned subsidiary of Global Media Network, LLC, educate, enlighten, and entertain. And this morning, and for the next 2 to 3 months, September, October, and November, it's not politics as usual. In this episode, we are going to talk about, unless we forget, the war cycles that's been going on since the beginning of time. Our listeners called me up this morning and said, I don't understand why it's still going on. If women were in charge, or to paraphrase, when women are in charge, we would negotiate, because everybody knows you can't win a war. There's always repercussions. So today we're going to talk about the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. You don't need a formal introduction to me. Everyone knows me as CEO Prez of Global Media Network, LLC, and the owner of Passionate World Talk Radio Network. Someone asked me about the Palestinian problem, and I told them everyone should be concerned. It can happen in other countries, not just Palestine. In fact, it is Russia and the Ukraine, for example, or the Vietnam War, another example, or the Korean War, another example. We could go on. The list is quite long, and it's been going on since the beginning of time. But today we're just going to concentrate on the Palestinian/Israeli question. The conflict is multifaceted, encompassing historical, political, and humanitarian aspects. As global citizens, we need to address this delicate matter with empathy, diligence, and an openness to diverse viewpoints. Yes, this is an editorial, mine. The historical context. The origins of the Israeli-Palestine conflict extend over a century. In the early 20th century, Zionist movements promoted the immigration of European Jews to the then Ottoman-controlled Palestine. Following World War II and the Holocaust, the nascent United Nations suggested, dividing Palestine into Jewish and Arab states. This proposal precipitated the British withdrawal and the outbreak of conflict in 1947 between Jewish and Arab forces. In 1948, Israel proclaimed its independence, leading to conflicts with neighboring Arab countries. Consequently, numerous Palestinians were forced to flee or were expelled from their homes, an event Palestinians remember as the Nakba, N-A-K-B-A, or disaster. I would say it's reminiscent of the walks that the indigenous Indians of America had to do when the U.S. cavalry forced them to leave their homeland and to go on to the reservations out west that were mostly arid, lack of water, bad soil, especially if you're a warrior culture and not farmers. Israel's annexation of East Jerusalem and the West Bank after the 1967 Six-Day War added layers of complexity. The conflict has been characterized by intermittent violence and protracted peace talks throughout the late 20th century and early 21st centuries. And you're asking, well, how bad is it? The political aspects of the conflict are intricate, involving both democratic and authoritarian elements on each side. In Israel, right-wing governments have historically pursued aggressive settlement policies, complicating the peace process. And Palestinians, Fatah forces political hurdles in parts of the West Bank. The widely supported two-state solution, which would recognize both Israel and Palestinian states, encounters significant barriers. Currently, the United States supports Israel, yet is considered a controversial mediator. Effective multilateral diplomacy is essential for each advancement. And looking at the statistics, it is significant that over 5 million Palestinians are recognized as refugees by the UNRWA, many displaced for decades. Gaza suffers from a severe Israel blockade, leading to the world's highest unemployment rates and a dependency on aid. The West Bank is marked by a complex network of Israeli checkpoints and roads exclusive to Jewish settlers who keep on expanding their domain with or without their government's permission. Something to think about. Nonviolent Palestinian protest settlements expansions are often met with force, and acts of terrorism by groups like Hamas jeopardize the rights and safety of all individuals. A fair resolution must address these humanitarian issues and respect the fundamental dignity of both Israelis and Palestinians. There's been decades of political conflict, and maybe a peaceful and equitable solution appears more elusive than ever. Talk is cheap. Remember that quote? However, for the benefit of future generations, the pursuit of nonviolent reform and reconciliation must continue. Halting settlement expansion and lifting the blockade on Gaza could rebuild trust and reopen discussions about borders and Jerusalem as a capital. International backing for Palestinian independence and a sustainable two-state solution is crucial. At the community level, exchange programs that foster empathy across divides could be the most effective. While progress may be slow, open, thoughtful dialogue and practical non-violent actions could gradually broaden horizons. Both Israel and Palestine people are entitled to security and dignity in their ancestral lands. So, folks, this is a wake-up call for you to recognize that after years of conflict and oppression and suppression, it doesn't work. How many times do we have to have an armed conflict going on for you to understand that and know it? And realize a new solution must be found. As an independent radio station, we do not side with sides because each side is right and each side is wrong. I encourage you to contact me at pwrnetworkllc@gmail.com and say, Ms. Cauldwell, I want to appear on Lest We Forget, and so we can have a lively debate and discussion about this conflict, because it mirrors another conflict between Russia and the Ukraine. And that's just the beginning of Mr. Putin's plan. And of course, let's not forget what we did to the indigenous natives here in the United States. If you follow the news at all, the potential vice president for the potential president on the Republican side said, and I semi-quote, "They are the invaders and we need to take them down. This is our country." And of course, the potential VP candidate was speaking about the Native American Indians who had no right to the land and that it belonged to the whites. Something to think about. So please send me your email and let me know whether you would like to participate on the Palestinian/Israeli question, because the war itself does not stand alone. All nations have their young boys and young women serve in the military, which is wonderful. Unfortunately, how well do they take care of them when they come home broken mentally, spiritually, emotionally, and physically? How does it affect children living in a war zone with barbed wire, machine guns, bombs, tanks, missiles? Now, the United States hasn't faced that yet, but the rest of the world has. Would you like to bring your child up in Ireland? Which brings us to the third topic, religion. 100-Year War in England, Ireland, Protestant versus Catholic, the Crusades, Catholicism versus Muslims. There's no right or wrong answer. Religion is what it is and what men make of it. And so far, I've not been impressed by how the men are handling it. This program is brought to you by Passionate World Talk Radio, The Obstacles of Podcasting. Please go over to https://education.passionateworldtalkradio.com/masterclass sign up. And by Ruby.ai. Go over to the website https://esc73.try Ruby RUBI.ai and see what the world and the Shark Tank is talking about. You can see this all over again on youtube.com/Passionate World Radio, underline Passionate World Talk Radio. At our website, https://passionateworldtalkradio.com/blog, and all of social media. Thank you all very much for joining us this afternoon, and have an awesome weekend.